Discover the heartwarming truth behind Sandman. Was this incredible story stolen? Revealed. Jake stumbled through the gray door of his comic book store, his heart heavy and weary. The flickering sign outside read closed, but customers were always welcome for a friendly chat, even amid the uncertain financial currents. Another day, Jake muttered, brushing a hand across his stubbled chin, remembering the gleam in his children's eyes as he spun tales of the Sandman, a character born from both his imagination and his love for them. As the evening sun cast long shadows across the floor, Jake settled into his favorite chair, the scent of ink and paper wrapping around him like a comforting hug. His kids, Ellie and Max, scampered into the room, each clutching their own well-worn plush Sandman toys. "Tell us a story, Dad," they chorused, their little faces glowing with anticipation. He couldn't resist. Once upon a time, he began, letting the words flow, igniting the night with the enchanting whispers of hope. Within those tales, Sandman fought for dreams, turning dark nights into beautiful adventures. The world melted away as he watched their eyes widen with wonder, his heart swelling with purpose. But that peace shattered when Jake found himself scrolling through the news, the headline burning like acid in his gut. A blockbuster film dreamcatcher mirrored everything he had poured his soul into for years. The screenshots depicted a character wearing a familiar cape, with a glimmer in his eye suspiciously similar to Sandman. Jake's heart raced. How could this happen? Corporate greed had taken root, and his cherished stories were at risk of being snatched away from him. Before he could process the whirlwind of emotions, his loyal community sprang into action. The town of Maplewood, filled with faces he recognized, flooded the local diner, engaged in heated debates over the unfolding scandal. "It's a disgrace," cried Mrs. Thompson, slamming her fist on the table. "We can't let them do this." Voices of indignation filled the air, igniting a collective fire to stand up for their own. But within his home, the air was thick with a different kind of tension. His brother, Tom, a successful businessman who saw the film's financial potential, urged Jake to let it go. "You're not going to pay the bills with dreams, Jake. Think of the kids." Each word struck like a dagger, laying bare the fault lines in their relationship: ambition versus loyalty. The love for his family clashed with his unwavering principles, leaving him torn. And still, he dug deeper, unearthing the backstory of the screenwriter. Like himself, this artist was a dreamer once, weighed down by life. A sense of kinship clashed with ire, leaving Jake bewildered. Was this a thief or a kindred spirit? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Amid the turmoil, Jake felt the unwavering support of Maplewood wrapping around him, fueling his resolve. Would he stand defiantly against towering giants or succumb to the allure of a safe life filled with that easy success? A decisive moment loomed on the horizon, yet one revelation about the screenwriter's motivations would soon emerge, threatening to shatter everything Jake believed. The lines between friend and foe blurred, leading him into an emotional storm of dreams, justice, and familial love. As he stood at the crossroads of his life, would he muster the courage to confront the unseen monsters in the shadows, or would he risk losing everything for the sake of his art? The next morning, the smell of coffee wafted through the house, mingling with the sound of cartoon characters echoing from the living room. Jake rose early, the weight of last night's dilemma heavy on his shoulders. He couldn't shake the thoughts about the screenwriter, someone who might understand the intricacies of dreams, both broken and pursued. Yet, uncertainty gnawed at him. Could there be a chance that this mysterious artist had a story worth hearing? As he poured himself a cup, Ellie and Max burst into the kitchen, their laughter like music. They were blissfully unaware of the storm brewing in their father's heart. "Dad, can we go to the store today?" Max's eyes sparkled with excitement, clutching his Sandman tightly. Jake knelt down, forcing a smile through his turmoil. Of course, buddy. Let us see if we can find some more stories that inspire us. But as he spoke, his mind raced with thoughts of his own characters who, now, felt threatened and almost alien. After breakfast, Jake decided to make a call. Yeah, I'll set up a meeting with the screenwriter, he said, surprising himself. The voice on the other end was professional yet eager, and within minutes, they agreed to meet at a local coffee shop. He could already feel the tension in his chest tightening, a mix of nerves and hope. Ellie and Max hopped into the back seat, their chatter filling the silence as they rode toward the store. Do you think Sandman will win the fight? Ellie asked, her expression serious. He always does, right? Jake nodded but felt his heart sink. It's not always that simple, sweetheart. Sometimes it takes more than just fighting. The store felt alive with the chatter of regulars, but as Jake flipped through the new arrivals, his mind wandered back to the screenwriter. What if they were just another tough character, driven by desperation? Did they even know the impact of their choices? The sound of laughter caught his ear, and he turned to see Mr. Patel animatedly discussing the latest superhero film with a group of eager listeners. Jake! Mr. Patel waved him over, pulling him from his thoughts. What do you think of this mess in Hollywood? Your creation may have been swiped. Mess is putting it lightly, Jake replied, forcing a laugh. But I've got to figure this out. People will rally behind you. They believe in Sandman. Another customer chimed in, placing a hand on Jake's shoulder. You just need to shine a light on what's right. He felt a flicker of hope igniting again, a flame that had dimmed under the weight of self-doubt. Later that day, sitting across from the screenwriter, he planned to uncover the truth as afternoon passed swiftly. Jake wrestled with his nerves. He could hear laughter and chatter from Ellie and Max as they played at the front of the store, not a care in the world. The thought of them losing their father to the fight weighed heavily. The stakes felt higher than ever. He could stand firm for what was right, or he could allow the shadows of uncertainty to close in around him. Finally, when the hour arrived, Jake stood outside the coffee shop, watching patrons filter in and out. He took a deep breath before stepping inside. The scent of espresso wrapped him in a warm embrace, masking the doubts swirling within. He spotted the screenwriter seated in a far corner, a calm presence in a crowded room. As their eyes met, Jake felt alive, ready to face the greater battle ahead. Would this meeting bring answers or push him further into darkness? Would he confront a kindred spirit? Or would this be yet another reminder of how fragile dreams truly are? In that moment, as he approached, Jake couldn't shake the looming question. Would the truth be an ally or a foe? Jake felt his heart racing as he approached the screenwriter. It wasn't just the caffeine in his system. It was the weight of hope and fear colliding within him. The screenwriter looked up from their coffee, pushing a pair of glasses up on the bridge of their nose, an inviting yet formidable expression on their face. Jake, right? They extended a hand, and Jake took it, feeling the strength in that grip. This was someone who had faced challenges, someone who understood the stakes. Yeah, thanks for meeting with me, Jake managed to say, wiping his sweaty palms on his jeans. They settled into their seats, the bustling coffee shop creating a world of its own. Somewhere, a child giggled, and the barista called out names in a sing-song voice. I've been following your work, the screenwriter began, a spark of enthusiasm in their voice. Sandman is something special. Your characters, there's depth to them, heart. Jake's chest swelled with pride but quickly deflated when he recalled the rumors about his creation being compromised. I've heard some unsettling things about the industry taking inspiration, you know? I wanted to talk to you about that. The screenwriter leaned in, their expression turning serious. Let me guess, it's not just rumors for you. You think someone's taken your story. Jake nodded, the words tripping over each other in his throat. Exactly. It feels like someone is taking the very essence of what I created and spinning it into something else. I just want to know why and what they think they could gain from that. A moment passed in silence, thick with tension. The screenwriter took a sip from their cup, eyeing Jake carefully, deliberating their response. You know, these things happen more often than you think. Talented people getting lost in the fight for something they poured their soul into. Do you know what I really feel? Your story is worth fighting for. Jake wanted to believe that statement, to let it seep into his very being. But what if I lose? What if I can't protect Sandman? He could almost feel the weight of failure pressing down on him. You fight, the screenwriter replied, their eyes bright with passion. You stand up for your creation. And you gather everyone who believes in that creation around you. The people matter. The narrative matters. That's what makes what you have powerful. Jake stared at the screenwriter, fully absorbing the weight of their words. You're saying I'm not alone in this. Not at all, they said, warmth in their tone. There are folks out there who will rally for you. But it's up to you to lead them. At that moment, clarity washed over Jake like a cool breeze. Maybe he didn't have to fight this battle alone. The fear that had pulled at him for days began to fade, a gradual melting away of uncertainty. There was a flicker of resolve within him now. But how? Where do I even start? His voice trembled, raw with vulnerability. Start by sharing your story. Gather your community, your family. Let them know what's at stake. The truth will in turn attract those who want to help. As Jake processed the screenwriter's words, he glanced out of the large windows of the coffee shop. Ellie and Max were outside, running in circles, laughter echoing like music. Their carefree joy rekindled something in him that had been lost amid the chaos of his internal battles. Maybe what I need isn't just to fight, he mused aloud. Maybe I need to inspire others along the way. Exactly, the screenwriter agreed, a smile breaking through. You have the chance to not only reclaim your story but to make it even greater than before. So what do you say we brainstorm? Jake nodded, energized with a new direction. The conversation shifted now into ideas and possibilities, growing brighter as moments unfolded. But as the hours slipped by, one lingering question nagged at him. Could he really muster the courage to rally everyone together? Did he have the strength to forge a path toward the truth? And then, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, Jake felt that familiar flutter of fear. Would this journey be the one that ultimately defined him, one of triumph or failure? Would he reach out to the very people who could alter not just his fate but the fate of Sandman itself? His heart raced anew as he mulled it over. What if facing the truth forced him to confront the very essence of his own dreams? Jake left the coffee shop with his mind racing. The screenwriter's words echoed in his head, igniting a fire within him. As the cool evening breeze wrapped around him, he took a deep breath, trying to build on the new resolve that sparked in his heart. He stepped onto the sidewalk, and his gaze found Ellie and Max playing. Their laughter was a balm to his concerns, a reminder that joy existed, even in tough times. What would it look like to share his struggles with his kids? They noticed him, and Max waved, his smile wide and infectious. At that moment, Jake felt an urgent need to gather not just his family but a larger community. Maybe they could help him find a way to protect Sandman. Hey, you two come here, he called. They ran over, Max nearly tripping in his eagerness. What's up, Dad? Ellie asked, a hint of curiosity in her voice. Jake knelt down to their level, willing his heart to steady. I need your help with something important, he began. The gravity in his tone captured their attention. What's going on? Max asked, tilting his head. I've been working on a story. You know the one, Sandman? Both nodded enthusiastically. Well, I've heard some things that aren't right about it. It feels like someone might try to take it away from me. Ellie's brow furrowed, confusion written all over her face. But that's your story. No one can take what's yours. Can they? Jake felt a swell of gratitude for her simple yet powerful belief. They can try, he replied, but that's why I need your help. I want to gather everyone who loves this story, who believes in it like we do. Like a Sandman team? Max shouted, bouncing on his toes. Exactly, Jake said, excitement inching back into his voice. We can start a group, talk with friends, and even spread the word online. This story means so much to us. We have to protect it. Ellie nodded, her eyes sparkling with determination. We can tell everyone how great Sandman is. Show them why your story matters. As Jake stood, he felt a surge of hope. If this was more than just his fight, if it was something they all could share, then maybe they could make a difference. They wandered back toward their car, Ellie and Max planning out how they could reach out to their friends and encouraging Jake to post something on social media. With a little creativity, Ellie suggested we could visualize what Sandman means to us. We can make posters, share clips, and show everyone why it matters. Can I help? Max's voice chimed in, his determination obvious. Maybe I can draw something for our friends. Jake chuckled, their ideas filling the air with optimism. Going from fear to excitement felt incredible, a transformation he hadn't anticipated. Each small step forward filled him with strength. All of a sudden, Jake's phone buzzed in his pocket, interrupting the moment. He pulled it out, his heart sinking as he saw the email notification from the studio. The subject line read, "Your story urgent inquiry." He hadn't expected to hear from them so soon. Instinctively, he felt a swell of dread creeping in. "Dad, you okay?" Max's voice broke through his thoughts. "Yeah, just a little." Jake hesitated, contemplating whether to open it. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him again. What if this message was the confirmation of his worst fears? But what if it was something else entirely? "Do you want us to read it with you?" Ellie offered, her supportive nature shining through. Jake looked from the message to their eager faces. Maybe facing the truth was the first step. Perhaps accountability, transparency, and honesty were needed, not just for himself but for the story he'd nurtured. So he took a breath, ready to take them in alongside him. "All right, let us see what they have to say," he said. The uncertainty hung thick in the air as he opened the email, the tension palpable. What awaited him on the other side of that screen? Would it be confirmation of the threat he feared, or something unexpected that would change everything? Jake's heart raced as the email unfolded before him. The opening lines were formal, almost clinical. "Dear Jake, thank you for your patience regarding Sandman. We would like to discuss your upcoming project in light of recent developments." He felt his breath hitch. Was the project in jeopardy? He read further, scanning for clarity amid the storm of anxiety swirling inside. "Our team has been captivated by the unique elements of Sandman. We believe the story holds great potential, and we'd like to set up a meeting to further explore the creative direction we envision for it." As he read the words, relief washed over him. They weren't trying to take it away, they were investing in it, wanting to nurture it. But then came the catch. However, there are potential concerns regarding certain aspects that may require discussion. Jake's breath came fast again. What did they mean by that? What concerns? He found himself murmuring, half expecting Ellie or Max to offer insight. Ellie's gaze was glued to his face, brimming with curiosity. "What does it say, Dad?" "I'm not sure yet. They want to meet, but it sounds like there might be some issues we need to address," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. Max frowned, his youthful innocence battling with the hint of worry in his wide eyes. "Are they going to try and change Sandman?" Jake shook his head slowly. "I don't know, buddy. But if they have questions, it means we need to be prepared. They might not understand it the way we do." Ellie's determination flared back up, her earlier excitement flickering to life. "Then let us make sure they do. We need to show them why Sandman is so special." Max nodded fervently, his small hands balled into fists. "Yeah. We could write down everything that's great about it. Our favorite parts. Your best ideas, Dad." "Exactly. If we can present the heart of the story, they might see it our way," Jake mused, feeling a sense of purpose wash over him again. The uncertainty still loomed large, but this was a chance to stand up for what he loved. As they raced home, laughter and ideas flowed between them, sparking creativity that filled the car. Max declared he would create a giant Sandman drawing, a visual representation to accompany their words. Ellie was already organizing a list of their favorite scenes, the moments that made the story pulse with life. Jake felt lighter, inspired by their enthusiasm. It was more than a family effort. It was a community endeavor. They would gather support, rally friends and family, and showcase the magic of Sandman. Each plan they brainstormed felt like a small victory in the battle he hadn't known he was facing. Arriving home, they erupted into a flurry of activity, gathering markers, papers, and a whiteboard that would quickly become their canvas. Jake felt a sense of unity forming, nearby hearts beating with the same passion. But as the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting the room in shades of orange and gold, Jake glanced back at his phone. The looming meeting was pinned to the top of his mind, a commitment he had to face to protect his dream. He could feel the pressure building. What would the producers say? Would they understand? It was then that a text arrived. Looking forward to your meeting. Excited about the potential. Jake's heartbeat quickened once more, uncertainty and anticipation mingling. This was an opportunity, but was he ready for it? Hey, he called out, the vibrant noise of their preparations momentarily fading. We've got to be ready for anything, and I need all of you by my side for this. There was silent agreement in the room, a powerful bond forged in love and shared belief. Would they prove themselves worthy defenders of Sandman? Could they turn this into a moment that defined their journey? As they dove back into their planning, Jake felt a sense of resolve settle within him. The next chapter was unfolding. What would it hold? Would they rise to the challenge, or would doubt shadow their preparations? The morning of the meeting dawned bright and clear, but an undercurrent of anxiety rippled through Jake as he stared into his coffee cup. The usual comforting aroma was overshadowed by the weight of his thoughts, swirling like storm clouds in a summer sky. He had barely slept, tossing and turning while mentally rehearsing what he would say to the producers. Dad, you ready? Ellie's voice sliced through his self-doubt, her bright eyes a mix of excitement and concern. Yeah, just thinking, he said, trying to sound casual. Max bounced into the kitchen, carrying his crayon-drawn poster of the Sandman. Look at this. I made it super big so they see it right away. Jake couldn't help but smile. Max had poured his heart into the colorful drawing, large enough to fill a wall. It depicted Sandman in all his glory, dreamy, whimsical, and brimming with life. That's amazing, buddy. I think they'll love it, Jake replied, trying to latch onto the spark of hope. As they piled into the car, the mood shifted. The glow of anticipation faded slightly, replaced by uncertainty. Ellie and Max chatted excitedly about their favorite parts of the story, their voices a bright melody. But Jake's mind buzzed with the producer's words from the email. What concerns could they possibly have? The drive felt longer than usual, each passing moment amplifying the tension in the air. Jake glanced at the clock on the dashboard. Time weighed heavy under the pressure of the unknown. When they arrived at the office, a sleek building with glass panels reflecting the blue sky above, Jake took a deep breath. Okay, let us do this. At the entrance, they were greeted by the producer, Sarah, whose smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Hi there, Jake. It's great to finally meet you and your family. Let us head to the conference room. As they walked through the sterile halls, Jake held Max's little hand tightly, needing that anchor of calm amid the swirling chaos in his head. In the conference room, the atmosphere shifted as a trio of producers settled around a long table. Jake placed the giant drawing on the wall. The colors burst vibrantly against the gray backdrop, pulling gazes and immediately breaking the ice. Wow, that's impressive, said another producer, Derek, leaning in, his interest piqued. Tell us more about Sandman. Jake took a deep breath, feeling the support of his family around him. This was the moment they had all prepared for, together. Sandman is a story about he started to share his vision, recounting the heart of the tale, the magic he saw in it, and the emotions it evoked. Ellie's enthusiasm and Max's innocence lent warmth to his words, grounding him as he spoke. But then came the moment Jake had feared. In between his recounting, Sarah interjected, "We love the concept, but there's a significant concern about how the story aligns with current trends in children's media. There are elements that might not resonate with today's audiences." His heart dropped. Would they want him to compromise the very essence of Sandman? "We think it might be a bit too abstract for younger viewers," she continued, scanning their faces for reactions. Ellie stepped forward, her voice trembling but determined. "But that's what makes it special. It teaches kids to imagine and dream." Jake felt pride swell in his chest, watching her stand up for the story they loved. He quickly added, "I believe if we explain these elements clearly, They LLC how it connects to the magic of childhood, how creating dreams can inspire real-life adventure. The room fell momentarily silent. Do you really think kids would connect with the Sandman as he is now? Sarah challenged, her brow furrowing with concern. Jake held onto his family's glaring support, their belief making him stronger. We can show them. Together, we can create something impactful. Trust us. As the meeting progressed, tension oscillated between hope and uncertainty. To change or not to change. Jake caught a flash of doubt in himself, wondering if they could navigate this challenge. Could they bridge the gap between their vision and what the producers envisioned? When the meeting concluded, he felt a mix of relief and apprehension. They hadn't found a resolution, but they had made it through. Thank you for listening, Jake said, lingering in the doorway. As they stepped out, the world felt different, charged with possibility. What happens now? Max asked, looking up with wide eyes. Jake furrowed his brow, uncertainty creeping in again. I don't know, but we will fight for Sandman. Together. As they walked away, the weight of their journey felt heavier, yet something incredible simmered beneath the surface. Would they be able to protect Sandman's spirit? Or would they have to redefine it in a way that changed everything they believed in? The questions danced in the air, full of potential and doubt. What awaited them on the other side was still shrouded in mystery. The drive home was quieter than before, an unsettling hush wrapped around them like fog. Max, usually rambunctious, sat clutching his poster, his expression a mix of hope and confusion. Ellie shifted in her seat, her brow furrowing as she replayed the meeting in her head. Jake's grip on the steering wheel tightened, his heart still racing from the uncertainties laid bare. Dad Max finally broke the silence, his small voice trembling. Do you think they didn't like Sandman? Jake swallowed hard, leaning forward, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. No, buddy. They just want to make sure it's perfect for kids. They just want to help us. But even as he spoke, doubt gnawed at him. Was that really it? Ellie, clearly wrestling with her own thoughts, piped up. What if they take away the best parts? The dreams and the magic? Her eyes glinted, betraying a mixture of fear and determination. It hit Jake then, a spark of clarity amid the chaos. Ellie, he began, glancing at her through the rearview mirror. The heart of Sandman can't be lost. We just need to show them why it matters. But how? She whispered, glancing out the window at the blur of trees passing by. A colorful mural of green and brown and blue. That's what we'll figure out, he said, his voice steady. They were a family together, they could navigate this. Let us start by talking through what makes Sandman special to us. Max perked up, his excitement bubbling back to the surface. We can come up with new ideas, too. Maybe even show them more drawings. Ellie nodded, her expression brightening. I could write a short scene that explains why dreaming is important. Jake's heart lightened. Their mission became clearer with each word. Exactly. We just need to get back to the roots, why we created Sandman in the first place. They spent the rest of the drive brainstorming and laughing, making notes on napkins, and sketching new ideas on the back of Max's bright poster. By the time they pulled into their driveway, the doubt that had loomed over them began to fade away. Through the power of their voices, the spark of imagination returned, igniting something fierce in Jake's chest. That evening, the dinner table transformed into a creative workshop. The family shared the warmth of their meal, but it was the laughter and passion for Sandman that filled the air. Jake spoke animatedly, gesturing with his hands as Ellie and Max joined in with their own bits of creativity. The very essence of their ideas began to coalesce, a beautiful tapestry woven from love and intention. I think we should have a moment where the Sandman comes to life, Ellie suggested, her eyes sparkling. He is not just a character. He is a guide to help kids see the magic inside themselves. Jake was bubbling over with pride. That's exactly it. Sandman should not only inspire dreams but also show kids that they hold that magic within. Just as they were wrapping up their brainstorming session, Max's tiny voice broke through the atmosphere of enthusiasm. Can we make a part where he fights the dream stealer to protect imagination? Jake laughed, the tension from the meeting distant now. The dream stealer? I love it. That could be an amazing climax to our story. Ellie smirked, clearly relishing the chance to build on Max's idea. Then we need a powerful moment when the Sandman shows he is not afraid to fight for kids' dreams. It'll show the power of belief. As the conversation flowed, Jake realized how much had shifted. They weren't just going to the producers anymore as mere creators. They were a unit shaping a story born from their collective vision, laughter, and dreams. In that moment of clarity, Jake decided they would go back to the producers with something stronger. With their signatures of passion engraved into Sandman, they would fight for its soul. But as they settled in for the night, a lingering thought lingered in the shadows of Jake's mind. What if the producers came back again with demands that would alter the story completely beneath all their hard work? Unknown to the family, an unexpected twist was lurking. Just around the corner, elfish gloves around hearts and ambitions. And Jake could only wonder, how far were they willing to go to protect their creation? The house was silent, the kind of quiet that felt almost sacred, as the family settled into their evening routine. Jake leaned back in his chair, watching Ellie and Max still animatedly discussing their ideas for Sandman, lost in their world of creativity. He wished he could bottle this moment, the tight-knit unity that wrapped around them like a warm blanket. Their eyes sparkled with excitement, ignited by dreams and hope. "All right, team," Jake said, eyes narrowing playfully. "Let us wrap this up and call it a night. We've got a big day tomorrow." "Not yet. I want to add one more thing," Max interjected, almost bouncing in his seat, the bright colors of his poster illuminating his enthusiasm. "The fight with the Dream Stealer. We need to decide how Sandman defeats him." Ellie tapped her temple, her expression shifting to one of contemplation. "What if he uses the power of imagination? Like each time he believes in a child's dream, he gets stronger." "Yeah," Max echoed, his grin broadening. "And every time he fights back, it shows the kids that they can overcome fears." Jake felt a thrill run through him. "That's brilliant. It's not just about Sandman fighting. It's about kids learning to believe in themselves too." As they continued to flesh out their ideas, the weight of the upcoming meeting with the producers seemed miles away. They sketched and scribbled until the kitchen table resembled a chaotic art studio, with brightly colored scribbles and notes scattered about. Jake marveled at his children's talent, how effortlessly they turned worries into sketches, their voices rising and falling like a lively chorus. Eventually, fatigue caught up to them, and Ellie stifled a yawn. "Can we do this again tomorrow? I want to work on that scene I was thinking about," she said, rubbing her eyes. "Of course," Jake replied, knowing how vital this creative output was for all of them. This was more than just a project, it was their passion, their piece of magic. After they cleaned up, parents and children settled down for the night. Jake lay in bed, staring at the ceiling as thoughts swirled in his mind. What if the producers rejected their ideas? What if everything they worked for was about to be altered beyond recognition? He felt the familiar knot of anxiety tighten in his chest. But just as despair threatened to seep in, a reassuring warmth filled him. They were a family. Together they could tackle anything. It's what they had learned in their lives, respect for each other and a shared willingness to dream. As dawn broke, illuminating their kitchen with soft rays of sunlight, Jake could sense an electric buzz in the air. Today was the day they would present their vision. He strongly believed in the power of their story, but he also knew they had to stand firm. Walking into the meeting, he could feel his heart racing. The producers, probably busy lining up their coffee cups and laptops, sat casually. The air was thick with anticipation, and as Jake adjusted his tie, he exchanged a glance with Ellie and Max. There was reassurance in their faces, even amidst nervousness. "Ready?" Ellie asked softly as they stepped forward to present. Jake took a deep breath, aware of the stakes. They had poured their heart and soul into Sandman, and he was willing to fight for every inch of magic. "Let us show them why Sandman is so important," he said, gripping the edges of the table as his voice steadied. But the moment his words left his lips, a shadow passed over the producers' faces. The air grew tense. "We need to discuss the direction we want," one producer began, but abruptly trailed off, catching Jake's gaze as if weighing something heavy. Jake's heart sank. Had they already begun to impose their vision on something so precious? Then came the unexpected twist. The lead producer leaned forward, eyes glistening with something deeper than mere business. What would they reveal next? Was this a chance to salvage their story or an ultimatum that would shatter their dreams? Jake could feel the stakes rising higher than before, and uncertainty washed over him. In that moment, he knew he had to hold on tight. How much were they willing to fight for Sandman's soul? Jake's breath caught in his throat as he met the lead producer's gaze. The room felt more like a pressure cooker than a corporate meeting space. He scanned the faces around the table, watching for any signs of what was to come, but everyone remained unreadable. The lead producer cleared his throat, a subtle gesture that made Jake's heart race faster. "Your concept is compelling," she began, her voice steady. "The heart of Sandman resonates deeply." However, a long pause hung in the air, every second stretching like taffy. Jake could feel Ellie's fingers clasping his, and Max shifted nervously at his side. "We are exploring new directions. Commercial elements and audience demographics have shifted, and we need to consider." Jake interrupted, the words spilling out, fueled by panic and protectiveness. "But this story isn't just about making money. It's about connection and teaching kids to dream. We can't lose that." The producers exchanged glances, some eyebrows arched, and a murmur of acknowledgement rippled through the room. Jake's heart pounded. Did he just jeopardize their standing? But he couldn't sit back and watch them take away everything. Sandman had to remain true to its roots. "Jake, I appreciate your passion," another producer chimed in, attempting to restore calm. "We're not saying we disagree with your vision. We see the value in celebrating creativity and imagination. But we need to find a way to align that with what audiences are demanding." Max's small voice piped up, breaking through the tension. What if Sandman helps kids in real life? Maybe he shows them how to chase their dreams while facing scary situations, just like we do. In that moment, all eyes shifted to Max, who sat with his little chest puffed out, unflinching in the face of scrutiny. Jake's heart swelled with pride, a mix of sweet and bitter. What it must be taken for Max to muster that courage. This wasn't just about their story. It was about kids everywhere finding strength against their fears. "Exactly," Jake exclaimed, suddenly filled with renewed energy. "Max's right. We can intertwine real struggles into the fantasy. Sandman can be a beacon, guiding them through dark times. That's the magic." The lead producer nodded slowly, her expression softening. "That's what we need to hear. How do we make that relatable?" Suddenly, Ellie's face lit up. "We could show how every child has something they fear, like the dark or losing a loved one, and Sandman would fight those fears, turning them into dreams." The producer's eyes flickered with interest. Jake could feel it. They were engaging. They began discussing ideas in a flurry of energy, voices overlapping, excitement rising like bubbles in a soda can. Each suggestion from Ellie and Max added fuel to the fire. Together, they painted a vivid picture of Sandman's world, intertwining courage, imagination, and the heartfelt journey of overcoming fears and obstacles. But just as Jake started to believe they were turning a corner, the lead producer raised a decisive hand. "This is fantastic and certainly more promising. But there's still the concern of brand viability. We might have to adjust certain elements to satisfy our partners." Jake felt the wind leave his sails. "What do you mean by adjust?" Then, the room filled with a sense of dread, as the producers leaned back, setting their plan in motion. "Let us talk about potential changes to core characters to make Sandman more appealing to a wider audience." Jake clenched his fists on the table. The fight was far from over. But one question loomed larger than all others: would he be willing to compromise the very essence of his family's dreams to keep Sandman alive? As the meeting pressed on, the clouds of uncertainty returned to engulf him. Would the beauty of their vision withstand the storm ahead? He met the eyes of Ellie and Max, both looking back with unwavering support. In that moment, it was clear. This was a fight worth having, and they would protect the heart of Sandman together. But what if fighting for the story meant having to sacrifice their entire vision? What would that truly cost them? Jake stood at the threshold of two worlds. The one he had built, rich with dreams and love, and the harsh, cold one of corporate agendas and market-driven decisions. The vibrant colors of LES artwork still hung in the air, a reminder of their hope. But the producer's words loomed menacing in his mind. Adjustments, changes to the characters. It felt like they were wielding the very sword that could cut through the heart of what they cherished. He took a breath, leaning into the warmth radiating from Ellie and Max. "We will not lose Sandman," he declared, his voice echoing with the strength of a promise. The resolve flared within him like a well-lit torch in the midst of an encroaching dark. "We're not here for just any version. We're here for the Sandman that inspires kids to find their own magic. Anything less isn't worth it." Ellie's eyes sparkled with determination, while Max nodded vigorously, his small fist pumped in encouragement. "Yeah, we want the real Sandman," he shouted, and Jake felt a surge of pride. The room shifted, glances exchanged as the producers regarded their passionate defense. "All right, Jake," Sarah said, her tone shifting cautiously. "Let us dive deeper into how we can retain the core of Sandman while discussing potential tweaks." Jake felt the opportunity slip into his grasp. What if we create panels where kids share their own fears and dreams, guided by Sandman? Could involve them directly, making the experience personal and relatable. They wouldn't just be passive viewers. They'd be part of the story. A silence hung momentarily, then Sarah nodded thoughtfully. "Engaging the audience in that way could work." Ellie chimed in, "And we could use animated elements that stretch the imagination while keeping genuine emotional moments intact. Sandman could use laughter, color, and even music to show kids that fear can be transformed." Max, bulking with youthful zeal, added, "Maybe we can team up with real kids. They could help Sandman in their adventures." Jake could see them lighting up, ideas blooming between them like flowers breaking through the winter snow. The producers leaned in, eager to explore their enthusiasm, previously reluctant faces morphing into curious intrigue. Working with real kids could bridge the gap. Derek interjected, excitement dancing in his voice. Allowing them to share their stories, plugging into their authentically, that could be the essence of what Sandman is about. The realization hit Jake like a burst of sunlight breaking through a dense cloud. They didn't just have to guard Sandman. They could help him evolve without losing his soul. What started as a confrontation turned into collaboration as they spun threads of creativity. Hours passed in the conference room, the atmosphere lively with chatter and brainstorming. Ideas flowed generously, words mingling like sprinkles on ice cream. Absurd, colorful, yet addictive. At the end of the day, they gathered all they had crafted, an array of passionate ideas, sketches, voices blending into one mantra. "This is our Sandman," Jake said firmly, standing tall before the producers. And in a wave of unity, he smiled, feeling the warmth of family beside him. "Let us show the world just what this story can do," he concluded, his voice steady and resolute. "Let us change fears into dreams together." The last sliver of sunlight bathed the room in golden hues when Sarah spoke next. "We're willing to partner with you and work on this with an open mind." Relief flooded through Jake, igniting a joy that felt profound. "We can make something meaningful," he shouted, laughter bubbling up as Ellie and Max jumped into each other's arms. Weeks melted into excitement as the plans began to unfold. They collaborated with children across Maplewood to share their fears, capturing their stories using art and imagination in ways they had never dreamed. Jake documented each step, the fire rekindled in the hearts of the community. And soon came the day the trailer for Sandman released, a kaleidoscope of colors undulating under radiant music, images of children, laughing alongside their dreams, wrapped in Sandman's spirit. As Jake watched the reactions unfold online, his heart soared with hope. Children laughed, friends rallied, and the online community erupted with expressions of support. Maplewood had come together. Their love for Sandman burned brightly, like the most brilliant fireworks lighting up the midnight sky. But more profound than views or likes was what he felt in his heart, an unconditional love pulling together his family, friends, and community into one heartbeat dedicated to dreams. As the final scene played out, where Sandman and his allies stood tall against the Dream Stealer. Jake, Ellie, and Max held hands tightly, bewitched by the magic they had created together. "Never underestimate the power of believing in something bigger," Jake whispered, feeling tears well up in his eyes, knowing this journey had transformed not just their lives, but every witness to their story. It was about more than just saving a character. It was about nurturing dreams and inspirations, bonding them all in an endless loop of imagination. Now Sandman would soar, and they would soar alongside him. And as the credits rolled, Jake shouted, "We did it." A fierce joy enveloped them, igniting what it means to dream where hope knows no boundaries. This was just the beginning of their adventure, one where dreams and passion would guide future generations. If Sandman could do it, so could they. So let us roar together. And you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this transformation. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this epic journey. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Be a part of our community that believes in magic, in dreams, and in each other.